Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome. I'm your host Ali Nessin and you are watching Radio LUMS. Today's episode is the second part of a very special series where we sit down with the valedictorians of the graduated batch of 2025. These conversations are not just about their academics, but about the stories, the struggles, and the insight shaping the people that we see behind the podium, and also on the Life of LUMS Insta page. In today's episode, we'll be hearing from Jovera Shakeel, a Rhodes Scholar, the former president of the LUMS Consultancy Group, and someone whose work spans across academic research, economic projects, and also nonprofit initiatives. However, we're not just here to talk about her achievements, but to get to know the person behind them. So hello, Jovera.
Assalamu alaikum. So nice to be here.
Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm amazing. How are you?
Very well. Thank you.
Okay. So my first question would be, how does it feel for you to finally be on campus now that you've officially graduated?
It's both a good and a bad feeling. I think good because who doesn't like a nice full circle moment? And coming back here after completing 4 years of education is to record this podcast with you is a full circle moment. And bad because, I'm still a bit shocked and emotional that 4 years are over. I think completing your undergraduate really tells you that 4 years can be both fleeting and very long, both at the same time. And I guess it's about perspective. So I don't know which perspective I've settled on yet. So for now, the answer is both good and bad.
That's amazing. I think I kind of dread the day I come back to LUMS after I graduate. I know I'm going to cry.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
And of course, congratulations on being named valedictorian.
Thank you.
That is a huge honor. How did you feel when you first heard about it?
I was extremely happy. And then I was also very, very humbled by the opportunity. I think for me, the next step always is that I start thinking about how big of a responsibility this is. That, you have to do justice to the privilege that's been given to you. So then I just started refining a speech that I thought would do justice to the opportunity. And that was a really long process. So I guess after the initial high was over, I just started thinking about it very practically and logistically. But of course, it was a really big privilege and just a really nice opportunity. I'm very grateful to LUMS for giving it to me.
Perfect. I actually heard your speech.
Really?
And
What did
it
you
was
think?
amazing.
Oh,
Absolutely
thank you.
amazing. So I know that there is a little bit of a misconception about the title of valedictorian. I've heard from some people that only GPA counts towards considering students for the title. But I've also heard from others that there is a wider criteria. So I think for the people that want to reach this level, could you really clarify what exactly is considered by LUMS?
Oh, wow. I'm not on the selection committee. Maybe one day when I am on the selection committee. I mean, if it was up to me, I would choose the funniest person, and I'm not the funniest person. But because I'm not on the selection committee and someone else is, I think it's not just your GPA. I think it's a mixture of GPA, extra co-curricular achievements, maybe faculty recommendations. I think they're just looking for people that are holistic and well-rounded, maybe, exactly, and then also will be able to represent their batch well. So maybe all of that, but then that's really making me second guess why I was chosen. So I'm not sure.
Let's not focus on that.
But I think that's it. I don't think it's just the GPA that's important. And in fact, here's a PSA, public service announcement. Just your GPA doesn't really matter for most things after you graduate. So that's another tea that's coming your way. But yeah, I don't think it's just your GPA. I think it's like a mixture of a couple of things that I just named. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So let's rewind a little bit. I know that everyone wants to know about your journey in LUMS, but I want to take it back maybe to your childhood. So when you think about the bigger picture of your journey, so growing up, your school, your community, what do you think shaped the way you see the world today?
I think I am someone who learns a lot from people. And especially mentorship is very, very important to me. I think that's also the fundamental difference that happened in my life from school to university, that I finally found academic mentors that were important to me, not just, obviously academically, yes, but professionally and also personally, right? So I think people do have the biggest influence on me. I think I learn a lot from people. And obviously by extension, by their circumstances, by the situation that they have grown up in. So obviously academic mentors in LUMS have been really, really important to me. But I think also I am someone who's just very, very interested generally in the economics of education. That's also what I want to do in the future. So I think I'm very acutely aware of educational inequality. And I think in that sense, what's really been a big influence is my father, because my father is a very self-made person. And I think his life changed primarily because he got access to good education. And so that has made me very, very, I would say by extension, acutely aware of the fact that someone who gets good education not just changes their own life, but also the life of the people that come after them. And so that's what's really made me realize how important this is as a basic need or opportunity that isn't available to most people in the same manner that it is to the privileged, right? Either in quality or just in supply. So I would say definitely the people that have been around me. But when you specifically ask about university, I would say just the mentors that I found here, especially professors. There are 5 to 6 that I have really, really learned a lot from. And I think if you would ask me, they've had like a really big influence on my life in university.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So it's very obvious that you have a very, very strong village behind you, people that you look up to. So for people that do not have that kind of support system, what advice would you give them for finding the right people or mindset to stay grounded and motivated?
That's a really big question, and I think about that very often actually. In fact, when I got the Rhodes, I think the first thought that came to my mind was that it really does take a village, right? Like people are right when they say that. And I'm also very acutely aware of the fact that there are many that don't have that village, which probably means that many of our highest potential students are not dreaming big just because they don't have that village. Because look, yes, you have the potential, but it takes a bunch of people to come together and really push you to reach that potential, right? So I mean, in my capacity, I would say that even for me, I don't think it just became possible that people started coming my way that were professional or academic mentors. I think you do have to reach out. You do have to, I think, ask for support. And yes, that can be very uncomfortable. That can be awkward. I completely understand that. I mean, I had that issue all the time. I was like, why should I go and ask? It probably will be so embarrassing for like them and me also, and then they will have to say no to me and all of those things jo aapke dimag mein aati hain. You like overthink this a lot. But look, the worst is that it's going to be a no, and it's already a no. Like if you don't have that village, then it's already a no. So the worst you can get is a no, from people. So I would say always just like reach out, ask for help. You will be shocked. Like I can say this with so much conviction that you will be shocked at the amount of people that will come out to help you in so many ways. There have been instances where people couldn't help me directly because they didn't understand the discipline that I was in, or they didn't understand my area of interest, and then they would be like, I can connect you with X person or Y person, and then X or Y person would turn out to be so helpful for me. And I was like, what if this chain had never started, right? So you have to, I think, look, I always say this, it's not very often that opportunity just comes knocking at your door. We say this very colloquially, that opportunity will come knocking at your door. That's not always true. You have to take the plunge. You have to very often go knock at opportunity's door. And very often there will be failure and you will not get the answer that you were looking for. But that's okay, because if you're at a null already, then taking that plunge will probably do something better for you, right? Like either it will be a moment of personality development, even if it's a no, or it will actually be a really good network and a really good connection that will be formed. So I would say that you really have to, I think, take the first step. But with conviction, I can say that when you do take the first step, when you do start reaching out to people, people will help you in ways that you will not have even anticipated, right? Like there are people out there that will literally take you on as their pilot project and be like, I will mentor you, I will help you. That is very rare, but that happens. So but that's not going to come to you as say, like ghar baithe. You have to like take the first step, really put yourself out there. Once you do that, I think it follows. But also I would say for people, because you specifically ask people that don't have the sort of backing or the sort of support, what I always say is that it's going to be very often that you're going to apply to something or you want to apply to something, you don't have the sort of backing or support for it, still apply. We come from like the part of the world where a lot of opportunities aren't open for us already. So जो हमारे लिए थोड़ी सी opportunities खुली हुई, अगर उस पर भी हम बैठ के इतना ज़्यादा सोचें कि should I apply to this, am I good enough, should I do it, maybe I'm not the best. I mean, how many opportunities are open for Pakistanis at this point, at this critical juncture in the geopolitical climate, right? How many opportunities are open for us? Like, I can count them on my fingertips right now, like big opportunities. So अगर उस पे भी हम बैठ के सोचना शुरू कर दें, then we're not doing ourselves a service. So just think about that. Take the step. Apply always. Think about the outcome later. That's what I've done like 4 years at LUMS. I've applied to every single thing that has sparked even the slightest interest in terms of like opportunities, scholarships, internships. I've been rejected a lot because obviously if you're applying to that many things, you will receive many, many, many rejections. That will do two things. One, you will become much better at accepting rejection, jo pehle nahi hota. And secondly, you will also realize that yes, like you don't need to really overthink every opportunity that comes your way. You should just like apply, think about the outcome later. And in my capacity, like because you asked if anyone ever reaches out, I hope that I don't hope, like I will definitely support in any way that I can, especially like in terms of graduate applications or just like support related to essays, personal statements, all of that. Anyone who's applying to graduate school will understand what I'm talking about. Other people, I hope you don't have to. But yeah, so I mean, there are people like me who are available, and like so I'm offering probably very less support as opposed to so many people out there that will offer so much support. So take my word for it, because I was in the exact same situation as you were a couple of years ago, and take the plunge.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. I think that was amazing advice. Because I do know that a lot of people struggle with just taking the first step and just doubting yourself. Yeah. But honestly, that's the thing. The first step is to put yourself out there, to just ask. Because the worst that can happen, like you said, is you get a rejection and you'll be in the same spot as you will be, as you are in the moment. Talking to you right now, I can really tell that you're very, very passionate about forming positive change. You can see that with your interest in developmental economics, your non-profit, Mukhtalif, where you platform artisans from underrepresented communities. So what I wanted to ask you was there a moment growing up or even later that really opened your eyes to the injustice around you?
I don't think there was a single moment. I think for most people, the way that they find out that this is something they're very interested in tackling is that it's a series of different things that just converge to a single point. And it really sparks this interest in you that, why is no one doing anything about this? I think what's interesting about Pakistan is, and I always say this to people, that change is always rooted in local context. And Pakistan mein, unfortunately, if whatever we are doing in terms of education seems to be failing repeatedly, then that doesn't mean that Pakistan was just like supposed to be like this. That Pakistan is a God-forsaken country, जिसमें कभी कुछ नहीं हो सकता, जिसका education system कभी बेहतर नहीं होगा. It just means that whatever approach we are using is not the best approach. It's not probably rooted in our local context, and it just means that if we are failing repeatedly, then that means that we need to change the approach that we are taking, rather than just like giving up on the people that we wanted to, for example, help in the first place altogether, right? So, like I said, I mentioned this in response to one of your earlier questions also, that I am very aware that my father became what he is today, as in a self-made person who is in a good financial position or in good financial standing just because he received access to good education. Then by conjunction, what happened is that he also made sure that his kids receive good education, right? So it is always a chain that starts. The problem in Pakistan is that where you have so many people in poverty, how do you start that chain? It's a cycle of like reinforced poverty that just like regurgitates over and over again. Regurgitates over and over again. Where you are, it's just really hard to, I guess, like put the first sort of step towards change in and start a cycle that will be very positive, that can uplift people out of poverty, right? So I would say I've just always been very interested in just like educational delivery. I would say I've been teaching my house help bachpan se, and I have also taught in both a public and a private school for 3 to 4 years, which has really, I think, made me realize that what's missing in education in Pakistan right now is that we're not sort of linking supply with demand. the biggest question that I want to tackle is that how do you mold education in a way that can guarantee people the good life? Because right now, education is not a guarantee for a good life. I can give you all the education that you want or that you should be getting, which is probably like throughout kindergarten to grade 12 maybe. Like I can give you all of that, but that might not guarantee economic outcomes. And in a place like Pakistan, where so many people are already like below the poverty line, education should be guaranteeing economic outcomes. Then how do you sort of like shift education or mold it to make sure that it guarantees that economic outcome, right? So I guess that is just the very fundamental question that I'm interested in. So again, like it's not one moment, but I think if one moment like stands out, it's that I used to have this house help. Her name was Sakina. She was almost like 45, 50 years old, and I was in grade 5 or 6 at that time. So imagine like me teaching a woman who's like 45 or 50, and I really loved her. I think I had the best time ever because she was a great student, and I have always loved teaching. I think I don't know if I will ever become a teacher formally, but I have always loved teaching. I really, really like it. I think there's just no better way to connect with people than to teach them, and then to really sort of see the spark in their eyes where you know you've made a difference in someone else's lives, right? Like there is no bigger joy, I think, than that. So I used to teach her, like I was starting from the fundamentals, right? ABC, 1, 2, 3, Alif, Pepe, all of that. And then I think the moment that really changed it for me in terms of, me realizing that, wow, like something can happen, or that change is possible and it begins from home, is that one day, like she'd learned the ABC enough, and she just like wrote out her entire prescription, like her medicine prescription by herself. She told me she'd worked on it throughout the night, and she showed it to me in the morning. And I think that, like, I was like, wow, maybe change does start from home. Maybe change is small, and maybe it is very messy, right? Because I did have a very messy relationship with her. I was constantly like, you have to study this from me. And she was like, why? But I was like, you just have to, like, I know kuch hoega. And maybe, it's not the biggest deal in the world that someone can write out their prescription. Maybe it's not to us, but to some person, it can mean access. It can mean so much, it can mean that for the first time in their life, they can actually understand the medicines they're consuming, like uska naam padh sakte hain. That is fundamentally life-changing, I think, for some people. And for us, maybe it's not that big a deal. But I think that is when I realized that, wow, like maybe this is what I want to do. And for some reason, that stuck ever since. I still do want to work on education. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I think that really does put into perspective what a big problem inequality is in Pakistan. I think to build upon that, if anyone's listening at home who really wants to make a positive change in their community, but they're unsure how to start, what advice would you give to them?
I think the first is to humble yourself. That's a very big one. And I think maybe it's contrary advice, maybe it's counterintuitive in the sense that when you think about change, I think the first thing that comes into your mind is not maybe to humble yourself, but to really, like expand your horizon and just like do everything at the same time. That's not the way I see it. I think that you really, really need to humble yourself to realize that one step that you take forward means that you've just seen one more aspect of the world, but there are so many other aspects that are still missing to make the change as comprehensive as you want. I also think that you really, really need to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, because change is really uncomfortable, right? So sit with people that are very, very different from you culturally, financially, socially, ideologically. I don't think anyone can claim to know the world unless they've sat with perspectives that are very different from their own and just engage with them. The most important one, I think, is start small. I think we really, really overthink change, especially in Pakistan. It has to be perfect. It has to be the perfect policy, the perfect law, just the perfect program, the perfect structure. Change doesn't work that way. It's very messy. It's often non-linear. It often like goes 2 steps forward and then 5 steps back. And it's sometimes just very, very small. Like we often think that change has to be just like this perfect package that's delivered to us for it to be meaningful. But something that's very, very small for you will just be someone's entire dream, So I think just stop sort of like superimposing change on people. Realize that one step forward, even if it's a small one, is better than no steps at all, right? It's better than just saying कि Pakistan तो है ही ऐसा, या जिस भी आप country में तो वो है ही ऐसी. Most importantly, I would say that yes, change is messy, but change should always be rooted in local context. Never superimpose change on people, never superimpose change from other places or other contexts, because it might not work in your context. And so that's where I also want to preface something that I said earlier about Pakistan. If your change is related to Pakistan, if your context is Pakistan, then realize that if what we're doing in Pakistan seems to be failing repeatedly, then that just means that we're probably not tackling the problem in the right manner, right? So instead of giving up on the people that you meant to help in the first place, maybe approach the problem in a different manner. Try again, but just don't give up on these people. I think that maybe that's not the most comforting advice. Maybe that's not the most supportive advice, but I think it's really important, because in all of the conversations that I have had, I've seen that we've just really like obsessed with change as this concept, in Pakistan, in terms of just like political elections में हमें बहुत होता है कि कौन change लेके आएगा, किधर से आएगा, कौन लेके आएगा, किस तरह का दिखेगा, but
और end में कुछ भी नहीं
और end
होता.
पे कुछ भी नहीं होता.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because we're so obsessed with change as this big sort of wave that needs to come all at the same time. How about we start imagining change differently as a series of smaller steps, and then maybe we might even see the most ruthless political ruler do something, right? Because we've reimagined change for ourselves. So just remember that, like this country is, I'm again and again talking about Pakistan, but that's because I know this context best. This will apply to anywhere, Like this country is 75 years young or 75 years old. Either way, I mean 5 सालों में तो कुछ भी नहीं change हो जाता ना, लेकिन 5 सालों में कुछ changes आ सकते हैं. सारा कुछ नहीं change हो सकता, लेकिन कुछ changes तो आ सकते हैं. So instead of like just doing nothing and waiting for that perfect, revelation to fall from the skies, how about we just like take a series of smaller steps? And maybe I'm just saying this because I was in the LUMS consultancy group for 4 years, and Q2 consultants that har cheez broken down honi chahiye, everything should be messy, which is mutually, wow, I've already forgotten it, mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. So everything should be like structured and all of that. Maybe that's coming from there, but it's not a good but it's not like a bad thing to sort of like take from there. So yeah, that's the advice I would give.
Thank you so much for that. I think I'm going to go home and make change, because you have been so inspiring.
Mission successful.
Let's talk now a little bit about your journey in LUMS. If you could go back and talk to first year Jovera, who is just fresh in LUMS, what would you say to her?
Oh, wow. Lovely question. So many things. I think I'll focus on 3. The first one is, I'm just prefacing this from earlier, take the plunge, Don't always wait for opportunity to knock on your door. I had this issue a lot, I was always like, nahin, but if there's an opportunity, they'll ask me themselves. Nahin, if they want to talk to me, they'll ask me themselves. Nahin, if a professor is interested, they'll ask me themselves. I think sometimes you have to go and really knock on opportunity's door, or make opportunity possible for yourself or for other people, and that's okay. So if rejection happens, that's part of the process. That's very, very much okay. Secondly, I would say just root yourself in a lot of gratitude. You're only here because there's so many people who made space for you, gave you chances, inspired you with their wisdom. Always remember that. Be rooted in a lot of gratitude for them, and pay it forward, always. The third thing is, take that course. Take that course that's difficult, that might not give you the GPA boost, but it will give you something far more meaningful, which will be a connection with the professor, or just like some wisdom about life that will be far, far, far more meaningful than just your GPA. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. And just during your time at LUMS, was there a specific moment, a particular class, or a professor that really, really stayed with you that you would like to talk about?
Of course. I think Dr. Aisha Ahmed, she's an assistant professor at the law school.
I'm part of the Dr. Aisha Ahmed fan
really?
club. Yes,
oh, wow.
I love her.
She's amazing. But I think what's really interesting about my relationship with her is that I actually took a Marxist theories of law class with her. Just to preface, I'm an economics and math major. So it's a very interesting choice for a hardcore capitalist economics student to just end up in a Marxism class. But I think other than that, she has really taught me to engage critically with everything, which I really needed, I guess, at that point in my academic career, which was senior year. So I think the first time I actually met her was the start of senior year, and I really, really needed someone to like make me engage critically. Unfortunately, sometimes when you're studying theoretically, I think it's hard to get out of the bubble, engage critically, see things around you very practically. Theory does that. Theory does have a tendency to do that. So it's very important for you to have someone who can tell you that, yes, like this is theory, but it has its limitations. Like, this is the theory, but it has its limitations, and these are the limitations. And I think she's also like really taught me, and she teaches this to everyone, to just really uncover the social, class, cultural aspects of even the most neutral of institutions, which again I really needed. And I think other than that, she's just looked out for me, like beyond the classroom. She's looked out for me in more ways than I can ever put into words. I think if I ever become, like, this is a big thing that I'm going to say, but I think if I ever become a teacher, I would want to, like, really follow her model, because she made me realize, like, this is what I'm missing in my academic journey through LUMS, which is a really big thing for me personally. I really needed that. So yeah.
Amazing. I think the one thing that I really like about LUMS is that you don't really see in other Pakistani institutions, at least, is that you aren't just boxed into your major.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a law student. Maybe my first 2 years, I took courses from every single school. And I feel like, I think as like an econ student, just say now you studied Marxist theory, right? And I really do think you learn the complete opposite, and that's so like important at times. Yeah. But moving on, I'm going to be honest. I've been in contact with some of your friends, peers, and members at LCG about you.
Oh no, I'm gone.
And the general consensus about you was that you are incredibly driven and passionate and dedicated in your craft, but also you still remain very pleasant and helpful to the people around you.
Relief. I was like, I don't know what's coming.
So what helped you build meaningful relationships? And this could be with close friends or competitors in a high pressure setting that LUMS can be.
I think, so I'm just very, very indebted to friends overall. I think I'm indebted to anyone who has ever played a part in my journey, but I'm very indebted to friends for their like support, encouragement, so much loyalty. And I think I am past the age, or we're all past the age, where we see anyone as academic competitors. I hope so.
I don't think
really so. Okay, maybe then I'll just talk for myself. I am past the age, correction, where I see anyone as academic competition, I would say. I mean, there's so many people that I look up to. There's so many people that I admire, so many friends that I admire, so many academic competitors that I admire, as you say. But I think, like, I want to be like them. There's so many aspects of their personality, or maybe, like their skill or their talent or what they do, that I want to embody. But I think what really helps is just staying genuine and go the extra mile for people, It's very rare to come across it's very rare, I would say, to come across good, meaningful people in your life. Go the extra mile for people, tell them that they're important for you. Tell them that, just appreciate people, I would say. I think that helps. Other than that, as for the second part of your question, I don't really see people as academic competitors, so I really can't answer that question. But I would just say that I think maybe the closest I've come to is really being like, oh wow, I want to be like this person, I want to talk like this person, I want to think like this person. Then I will literally just go and have a conversation with them and be like, I love this specific thing that you did, or I love this specific thought that you gave in class, or I love that you think this way, and how do you do it? And then if it's in my capacity, I will try to embody it. But I don't think I will be envious or like be like, oh, this person is my competition, I'm never going to talk to them in my life type, So yeah.
That is amazing insight. And I think everyone at LUMS should be listening to this.
Oh no, I think they're good people.
But moving on, I did want to take a moment to talk about the Rhodes Scholarship.
Yeah.
You have been named one of only 2 Rhodes Scholars in Pakistan. So could you kind of walk us through what that means and what the application process was like for you?
Yeah, so the Rhodes Scholarship is a graduate scholarship, and it is given to 2 Pakistanis every year to pursue either a second BSc/BA or a master's or a DPhil in a degree of their choice at Oxford University. So it is very Oxford specific. It is endowed by the Rhodes Trust under, I think, after Cecil Rhodes. And as for what the application process has been like, so it involves a written application, which involves a personal statement, an academic statement, a CV, references, and then there is the interview round, which has an informal interview and then the actual panel interview. I would say that the experience has been extremely fulfilling for me. And I was saying this to somebody the other day, I'll say it again here, that I think even if somebody had told me at the start of the process, like when I was applying, that you won't get it, I would still apply. Just because the sort of clarity that I got through the process about what I want to do in the future was just unlike any that I've ever had. Like, when in life do you sit down and really think about, this is what I want to do in the future? The Rhodes really made me think about all of that. So it was an extremely fulfilling, very long and grueling process. And I would say that I am just very grateful to people that have made it possible for me.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. And you have kind of talked about this before, but for students that are curious and ambitious, but still kind of feel unsure about their capabilities, what would you say to them to help them consider applying?
So I said this specific thing in my valedictory speech, and I'll say it again here, that before you do something special in life, you should just do something. Real life really doesn't follow a neat formula. Your odds in life aren't fixed. They're always shifting, but there is no way to know what they are unless you have tried. I made a pact with myself in LUMS to apply for everything. So every internship, every scholarship, every program that sparked even the slightest of interest. The result was that I've been rejected way more than I've been accepted. But one thing has stayed with me, which is that when I was applying for the Rhodes, someone said this to me that I'll never forget. They said that if you apply, there's a 0.7% chance that you'll get it. If you don't, the chance is zero. So you might as well apply. That's how I see everything in life now. Most things won't be certain, but doing something, I think, always beats doing nothing. Just do the math. I would say take the plunge. Like I said earlier, I think at the very least, you will get clarity from the process. At the very best, you will get the scholarship itself. Either way, I see it as a win-win. Like, when in life, otherwise, are you going to get clarity? So much mental fog these days. I'm saying this on a humorous note, but, so many people say this to me, and I never have any idea about how to really convince people. But I'm always saying, like, even if it's a 1% chance, 1 against 0, guys. So, like, just do it. And I think also there's so many intangibles that you get from any application process generally. How do you write? How do you tell the story of your life? How do you convince people that you are a good candidate? What do you want to do in the future? What is your true calling? What is your area of interest? All of those are big intangibles, but they are so important. And you might not get the scholarship at the end, but you're going to end up getting these intangibles anyways, so why not?
You will learn infinitely more than if you don't. Okay, let's have a little segment on the personal side.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay, let's do it.
I'm sure you constantly juggle academics, extracurriculars, your family, your friends. So my question to you is, do you really think balance is possible for a high achiever? Or do you think there will always be one thing that will have more attention?
I have to be honest, I'm not the best at answering this question because I don't think I balance very well at all. I think let's just be honest. I think very often the balance is just like skewed in favor of one thing rather than the other, unfortunately. And I do try, but I am not the best at juggling everything. I think a couple of things help. One thing that I did develop over LUMS was just being better at prioritization. So obviously there are immediate tasks that like really need your attention. Then there are tasks that can wait and are procrastination worthy. So, like you really should know how to bifurcate between both of those. And then I think for me, like making a daily list of tasks and then really like, choti si bhi cheez ho, like drink water and then you just cut it off and that's so nice and fulfilling. But
it makes you feel better.
Yeah, it does. Like it really helps. So, that, and then also know that I can give you like the best formulas in the world, or anyone can, and on a bad day none of them will work, or maybe even on the best of days some of them might just not work, and that's okay, because again, like I said, that's just the way that real life is. So I would say on your worst days you should have discipline, and discipline will push you through the days where nothing else will, where your daily task list won't, where your reminders won't, where nothing else will. So I think instead of like just going for short-term solutions, try to develop discipline, academic, professional, personal, whichever phase of life you're in. And I think that should get you through most things.
Thank you so much for that advice. I'm going to admit, I think I selfishly added that for myself.
Oh, wow.
Because I always feel like most days I'm being pulled in 10 different
Yeah.
directions.
Yeah.
But I'm going to
Of
keep
course,
that in mind.
you were also hosting, which is something I wasn't doing. Yeah.
On the flip side, how do you personally deal with setbacks or when things aren't going your way? Because you have had an amazing journey, but again, you have also had a lot of, setbacks, failures. So, what do you have to say about that?
Again, a work in progress. So, might not have the best answer, but I would say look at the big picture. I think rarely have I ever seen a setback that will just not make your big picture possible, like your big picture goal. There can be setbacks. They might temporarily sway you to one direction or the other, but rarely will they ever come in the way of your big picture. So just make sure that you always remember that this is the big picture that I set out for in the first place. This is what I wanted to do. And, maybe this particular approach didn't work, but there are many other approaches or many other things that I can do to make it possible. So I think that is the advice that I have. Just like focus on why you started out, what your passion was, and yeah.
Okay, thank you. I just have one question from my side. That is, what are you most excited about as you look ahead? This could be your studies, new projects, or honestly just relaxing now that LUMS has ended for you.
Relaxing, yes. But I think generally overall, I am very excited about just like learning more. I think I came into LUMS very, very hungry for knowledge. And I do think that LUMS was really good in that particular aspect. But, the more I've learned, the lesser I think I know. And that can be also very anxiety inducing because you want to know a lot of things, and how will you ever know them? So I think I'm just very, very excited also about just like learning from different people from within different contexts, and just like absorbing that knowledge, trying to really see what I can do with it. And yes, I would say I'm also very excited about paying it forward. I think everything that you have in life is a privilege, and I really, really want to pay it forward. I think I'm only here, like I said, because, so many people made this journey possible for me. I really want to pay it back to them. I think that's also something that I'm very excited about.
All right, thank you. I'm going to stop picking your brain now. I just
No,
want to
you were lovely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to give you 1 minute to talk to the audience. I want you to give them any advice or give anything that you think is important, a platform that the audience should know. You can look into the camera.
Yeah. So again, this is coming from my valedictory speech. And it's a fact that I really, really like. I want to say it again here in case, some people aren't aware of it. Which is that, scientifically speaking, the raw emotions of any experience, whether it's the thrill of success or the doom of failure, lasts just 90 seconds. After that, it's the story we choose to tell ourselves that makes success so fleeting and failure so long-lasting. And what I realized in over the course of these 4 years at LUMS is that what you do in the 91st second says a lot about how you see yourself. So just remember that in the 91st second, all you're really left with is perspective, because that raw emotion or that raw feeling is gone. Make sure that that perspective is worthwhile. Make sure that you're reflecting inwards in the 91st second. Always make the 91st second worth your while.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
coming,
much. You were a lovely host. And it was so nice talking to you.
You're such an inspiration to me, and I'm sure everyone listening.
Oh, no, please. That's very nice.
And for everyone listening at home, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this podcast gave you something to think about, maybe even learn from. And please subscribe for more stories from Radio LUMS. I'm your host, Ali Nessin, and I'll see you in the next one. Allah Hafiz.